Hey, Fridge Genie, I really wish for some toilet paper and hand sanitizer.
You ain't never had a friend like me.
Your wish is my command.
Oh, thank you.
What? I like my pillows cold.
Hey, babe. Never mind.
So hungry. What is that? Wait a minute. What's back there?
Well, I'm just an old prospector. Cold from the fridge.
Get out of here.
A man came by and wanted to buy my donkey. I gave him a price, and he said he wanted to sleep on it. Sleep on it? I'm not selling my mattress.
What's up, MAXlife? Coming back at you from our HQ, our world headquarters here, as we continue in our new series titled Streaks. Now, a streak is doing something for a consecutive period of time. I mean, you can streak running, you can have a biking streak, you can do an exercise streak, you can even have a streak going in chess. I mean, the ways that you can streak are limitless. And actually, you can do a streak in just about anything as long as you do it for consecutive days in a row. And during our streak series, we're going to be giving you some really cool ideas that will help you build healthy habits in your life. We've already given you some really cool ones that we call PB&J: prayer, Bible reading, and journaling. And I know that all of you are crushing this streak right now. We've actually had some really cool stories about students who have really been getting their prayer streak on and their Bible reading streak on and their journaling streak on. So keep it up. Now, MAXlife, I've got a question for you, all right? And it goes like this. Read my lips. What are you doing? Like, no, really, what are you doing? What are you doing during this shelter in place? Because let's face it, we have a lot of time on our hands, and it looks like we're going to be doing this for a pretty good while. So, what are you doing with your time? I actually have some really cool facts about some people that you may have heard of before, way back in the day, but when they were quarantined, they actually made some pretty good use of their time. See if you know this guy. His name is William Shakespeare. Ring a bell? Actually, during the 17th century, the plague hit London and it closed all the theaters. So Shakespeare found himself without a job and lots of time on his hands, so he got to writing. Big Willie Will Shakespeare composed a few plays that you may have heard of: King Lear, Macbeth, and Antony and Cleopatra. Pretty cool, huh? That's pretty cool. That's use your time wisely during his quarantine. Next up, we got Isaac Newton. And no, he did not invent the fig Newton, which is a very delicious treat, I must say. I probably wouldn't buy it in the store, but if I had it in my cupboard or you hand me one, I would crush it because it's a very good snack. Focus. All right, Isaac Newton, not the fig Newton guy, but Isaac Fig Newton. During 1665, the plague was in London, and Newton's classes were canceled at Cambridge University. I'm going to say Cambridge University. Focus. So he went to his home in the country to wait out the plague. And back in the day, he did not have social media, obviously. He didn't have Zoom classes or classes online for instructions on how to do your homework or any college classes online or emails from his professors or his teachers like we have today, which is completely awesome. Hope you're crushing that. So with zero structure, did you hear me? I said zero, like zip, nada, zilch, zippity-doo-dah. Zero structure, he excelled. I mean, he did. He produced some of his best works in quarantine. Anybody taking calculus yet? Anybody? But when you do, you can thank your boy Isaac Newton, because during his quarantine, he was developing early calculus. Pretty impressive, right? Also, he developed theories on optics while he was playing with prisms in his bedroom. And it was also said that during this time, he started to develop his theory of gravity. So MAXlife, I ask you again, what are you doing? What are you doing with all of this time that you have on your hands? What are you developing? What are you creating? What are you growing? What are you practicing? What are you training? What are you exercising? What's your thing? Right? I mean, what's your thing? Your thing is what I want you to focus on streaking for starting this week. All right? What is your thing? Now, this is going to look different for each and every one of you. And I know that some of you, you're already on it. You've got your thing. You've been practicing. You've been rehearsing it. You've been crafting it. You've been making it your own. You've been developing it. And if that's you, keep it up. Keep it up. No time like the better to do your thing. Also, I'd love for you to reach out to your friends who are not doing their thing, who are sitting on their thing. Call them and say, I'm going to kick you in your thing if you do not get up and do your thing and do something with this time. All right, so make sure you do that. Actually, check out my boy Josh from the MAXlife worship team. He's been in his garage or in his basement, and he has been crushing his thing. He's talented, he's gifted, he's working on his gifts and talents at home as we speak. Check it out, MAXlife. Josh, coming to you, baby. Check it out.
Hey MAXlife, my name's Josh. For the past couple of weeks, I've been here in my garage, playing my guitar, making some tunes, and since I have all this time, I thought I might as well use it.
Boom, there you have it. Get after it, Josh. Man, ready to go. Keep up doing your thing, because that thing sounds awesome. All right, so maybe you have a thing, but you haven't started doing it yet. MAXlife, it's time. It's time to do your thing. This is your week to start your streak with your thing, so let's get going. And to better help us understand how this looks, we're going to look at a very cool story in the Bible that involves a group of people. All right, actually involves an army. It involves a boy and a sling and a stone and a dead giant of a man that gets his head cut off. How about that for a hook? All right, well, last week we learned a lot about the Bible. We learned how to read it, how to look up stuff in the Bible and on the Bible app. If you missed that, make sure you jump back to the resource from last week and check that out, so you can catch up and know how to look up this verse. All right, and our story is found in the book of the Bible in the Old Testament called 1 Samuel in chapter 17. And I'm going to tell you this story. I'm going to summarize the story for you, but I want you to make sure that you go back and reread this story for yourself. All right, make sure you put that as your PB&J for this week. 1 Samuel chapter 17. Wait, what? Did you roll your eyes? Did I hear you huff and puff? I think I did. Now listen, our series is called Streaks, not Streak. Streaks is plural, which means there's more than one. And this is a time where we are focusing on building healthy habits in our life, not laying around twisting and playing with our armpit hair, boys. I know you do that. I mean, you do it. I know you do it. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's gross, but it's cool. All right, so let's get motivated. Let's take advantage of this time that we have. So everybody sit up. Let's get poised and let's get ready to crush. All right, and our story goes a little something like this. There was an army called the Philistines. They were the bad guys. All right, and they marched out to fight the army of Israel, and these guys were the good guys, and they are God's chosen people, and they are the army of the nation of Israel. So the bad guys, they've marched out to fight the good guys, and the Bible tells us that there was a valley between them. All right, so there's a valley between both of the armies, and the Philistines, they had an all-star warrior on their team, a champion named Goliath. And he was a massive man who carried some massive armor, a metric ton of armor. All right. Now here's some factoids about Goliath. He was 9 feet 9 inches tall. Yeah, I said that. Let that sink in for a second. He was 9 feet 9 inches tall. That is super tall. That's crazy tall. That's a big man. That's taller than LeBron James and Zion Williamson. All right. It's a big man. 9 feet 9 inches tall. His shield was as tall as he was. Now imagine as you're fighting in this combat, you've got a shield and it's taller than you, which means you could like reach out and pop somebody as they're coming to you. You could pop when they come this way. I mean, you could hide behind it. I mean, that's a big shield. That's a big shield. All right. The head of his spear weighed 15 pounds. That's a heavy head for a spear. I mean, imagine throwing 15 pounds. Imagine throwing 15 pounds accurately like a spear from distance. I mean, that's crazy. His coat of mail weighed about 125 pounds. That's a big man with some heavy gear.
Crush it. Whoa. Boom. Boom.
Wow.
Didn't expect to see that, did you?
Thanks, DD. Thanks for showing your muscle again. Impressive. Awesome. All right, so Goliath was called a champion because he would step out from the two battle lines, old school combat, and Goliath would stay on the edge of the valley and talk smack to the Israelite army. I mean, picture this scene as we're talking about it, but also picture it as you're reading it for this week. All right, he would talk junk about their king, King Saul, and he was challenging King Saul to come out and fight him. And Goliath, he even made a wager to King Saul. He's like, hey, look, if you beat me, then the Philistines will come and be your slaves. But if I beat you, your Israelite army will be our slaves as well. And the Bible tells us that King Saul and the entire army were terrified. And Goliath stood at the edge of the valley all day, every day, and yelled insults at the Israelite army. And he did this for 40 days. 40 days. All right, so enter David. And David, he was the youngest of his brothers, and his brothers were in the army, the Israelite army. So David's dad had him take his brother some food, and while David was visiting his brothers on the front line, he hears Goliath yelling his threats across the valley. And the Israelite army, there trembles in fear every time Goliath speaks and heckles and talks junk to them. And David, he hears this and he gets upset. He gets fired up. He says, who is this? Who does this tall man think he is that defies the army of the living God? I'm going to go and shut this big man up. I love this part of the story, and I love the passion that David has because it reminds me of my oldest son, Bo. When he was 2 years old, he was just a little guy, and we were at this event where his mom and his sister, Coach Megan and Blake, they were running, and we were cheering them on. And the race is over. Me and Bo is walking around. He's holding my finger, walking around. And I see this dad coming. They're passing us, him and his son. And his son's about 6 years old. And right before they pass us, the son looks at the dad and he points to Bo. The little boy points to Bo. And he says, look, Dad, a baby. A baby. Bo flips out. Remember, he's 2, by the way. He flips out. He pulls away from me. He starts walking toward this kid. He's like, I'm not a baby. I'm a boy. I'm a boy. I'm a boy. And he's walking toward this kid with his chest puffed out like he's going to get in a fight in the middle of girls on the run. All right. And I grabbed him like, hey, big man, what are you doing? Where are you going? What are you going to do when you get to this kid? He's like, Dad, I'm not a baby. I'm a boy. David hears this giant of a man heckling the Israelite army, the army of God, and David doesn't shake in fear like the soldiers. David gets fired up, and he's like, who are you talking to? You defy the army of the living God? Oh, no, you didn't. I'm going in. So David tells King Saul that he will go and solve his giant problem. So Saul says, you are nuts, man. He's a giant. You are little and small and you're young. And David assures Saul that God will help him with this fight. He will help him crush Goliath. And David tells Saul, he's like, I know that God will help me because God was already with me and helped me when I killed the bear, when I killed the lion. And because of that, I know that God will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. So Saul says, go ahead and fight him. But nobody else is going to fight him, so go do it. And he's like, here, take my armor. And David's like, King, man, what, really? Look at me and look at you. This ain't going to fit. It's not going to work. I can't fit in your armor. So David rolls out to fight this massive man with nothing but a staff, a slingshot, and 5 stones. And he walks into the valley. You see, the Israelites, they had this thing. It was this giant and his army, and it was keeping them from doing their thing. The Bible tells us that when David steps out, the giant Philistine moves toward him. And imagine this going down. This is crazy. When Goliath sees David, you can imagine this trips Goliath out. Right? This young little boy, this young boy. And I picture Goliath bursting out with laughter and his big giant laughter bouncing through the valley as it echoes through the valley. And Goliath says, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? Do you think Goliath is talking about the staff David is carrying? Or do you think he's referring to David as a stick because he is so little and so young? Goliath says, come here and I will give your flesh to the birds. Watch what David yells back. He yells back and he's like, I'm rubber, you're glue. What bounces off of me sticks to you. Just kidding. David did not say that. Totally kidding. This is what he says. He says, you come at me with a sword and a spear, but I come at you in the name of the Lord. And when I kill you, I will feed your body to the birds of the air and the wild beasts so that the earth will know that there is a God in Israel. And he does not save with a sword and a spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. All right, let's get mental with this, and let's visualize the story and make this battle scene come to life, all right? At this, Goliath moves in, and David, he reaches in his pouch, and he grabs his sling, and he puts the stone in the sling, and starts whipping it around his head. And he lets it fly, sinking the stone deep into the Goliath's forehead, and the Philistine fell face down dead. Dead. And David walks up to Goliath, his dead body's on the ground, takes Goliath's sword, and he uses it to cut off the giant man's head. Boom. Man, that's an incredible story that I think a lot of us can relate to. And here's why. We all have so much time on our hands, and we need to use this time to be crushing our thing. Your thing is anything that you're passionate about. Maybe it's a sport, drawing, painting, playing an instrument, or whatever you are into. And when it comes to your thing, it involves chasing your passions and your desires and your dreams. So what's your thing? What is it? What is your thing? We need to take advantage of this time that we have and go out and kill our thing. And when I say kill it, I mean that we go out and crush it. We go out and take it. We go out and master it. We practice it. We perfect it. Or we even start doing it. Here's the thing about your thing. When it comes to our thing, I believe that many of us, we have a mute button. Yeah, I said mute button. We can actually mute our thing ourselves if we're not careful. Maybe your mute button is fear. And fear is keeping you from doing your thing. And fear is a very powerful thing. In our story, we can see how fear can shut down an army. Because the entire Israelite army, even the king, was scared to death because of their thing. The massive Goliath was their thing. He was big, he was huge, and they're scared of him. Maybe you have fear because of your new normal. And we are all under the order to shelter in place because of the virus that is taking our world by storm. And because of all the news that you're hearing and your current reality, you're scared. And because of your fear, your mute button has shut you down and you are paralyzed. Or maybe you have fear of putting yourself out there. I can't relate to this because when it comes to our thing, we have a fear about what people might think about us. Or we fear of what people might say about us. Or we fear that we won't be any good at it. Or we could be scared about how much practice or work or dedication that it will actually take to do our thing. Here's the thing about your thing. You have a choice. Because it's your thing, yeah. Do what you want to do, babe. Now, you can choose to live in fear, like the Israelites, or you can do the exact opposite and use your thing to get over your fear. Here's how this works. Let's say your thing is playing drums. Then focus, not on your fear, but focus on actually playing, practicing, perfecting, getting better at playing drums. Give it your full attention. Put time in practicing. Watch YouTube videos on ways that you can get better at it. You see, when you give your full attention to your thing and develop it and put time into whatever your thing is, we stop focusing on our fear. All right, you follow me, right? You stop focusing on your fear and the things that scare us and that hold us back. We cannot let fear be our mute button. Also, the thing about your thing is it doesn't matter if somebody else is doing it or not. When you make something yours and you put your energy, your passion, and it will never be like anyone else. That's your streak, Max Life. And it starts now. All right, let's review. All right, commit to do your thing. Identify your mute buttons. make a choice to do something about them, step into the power and the presence of God in your life, just like the young warrior David did, and then step out and crush your thing. We love you, Max Life. We miss you like crazy. You can do this. And as we close, our prayer for you for this week will be on the screen. And if you're not a follower of Jesus and you would like to enter into a relationship with Him, then there will be instructions on how to do that as well. We love you. We're praying for you. We miss you. Let's pray.